Thank you so much for your precious time. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. There's something about emotions that honestly blew my mind when I first started learning this by the neuroscience, reliable, verified, scientific, neuroscientific knowledge that can be found even in scientific textbooks or studied in college. And if you ever hung out with me before, you already know one of the most amazing paradoxes that just won't let my mind rest because it gives me so much peace and so much curiosity. And if you never heard about it, most of us believe something very simple. If something intense happens in life, that creates the emotion. Stressful work, a breakup, loneliness, conflict. It feels obvious. Something painful happens, you feel overwhelmed. But as you may already know, neuroscience shows something much stranger. Between the situation and the emotion, there is your body. Your brain is constantly scanning signals coming from inside your body. Hormones like cortisol, blood sugar levels, oxygen levels, magnesium and iron, neurochemicals like serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, norepinephrine, signals from the gut, energy levels, immune activity. It's thousands of biological signals. And we always feel like, okay, I feel so intense right now. I feel so empty inside because this is happening in my life. I don't have this. This is suffering in my life. Therefore, I feel exactly this way. But beyond your feelings and what hurts your soul are thousands of biological signals. And as you may already know, this internal sensing system is called interoception, and you can find it even in reliable scientific textbooks. This is reliable neuroscientific modules that neuroscientists work with to explain what is happening inside our feelings and our brains. And what keeps completely blowing my mind is this: life events absolutely change these signals. But the emotional intensity still depends on the state your body was already in before the event happened. The same intense event can create completely different emotional worlds, depending on the body's internal balance. Let's look at what this actually means. I try to use examples so we can explore our feelings and thoughts in the most fascinating way. Imagine two people living through the same extremely stressful work environment. Hard work, labor, pain across the body from the work, heat, sweat, deadlines, pressure, constant criticism. Situations like this increase cortisol, adrenaline, and inflammatory signals in the body. So the outside world is clearly pushing the body. But now imagine the first person. Their nervous system is relatively balanced. Magnesium levels are stable, blood sugar is stable, serotonin and dopamine. Serotonin is a very fascinating chemical if you don't know it. It is a feel good chemical, and dopamine is whether you feel, in the most simple terms, whether you feel interested or bored, etc., etc. Serotonin and dopamine relatively balanced, sleep relatively normal, and thousands of body signals are relatively balanced. So when stress hormones rise because of the work environment, the increase might look like this: baseline stress signals moderate, work stress adds pressure, but the nervous system still has room to regulate because of other thousands of body signals are regulated. The thoughts might sound like this: this is really stressful, I need a break. The emotions are strong, but still manageable, And maybe not tearing your soul apart too much, not making you feel that crumbled inside. Now imagine the second person living in the exact same job, but their body was already under pressure before the job stress even happened. Poor sleep, low magnesium, blood sugar instability, higher baseline cortisol, lower serotonin, and other hundreds and even thousands of biological signals unbalanced. Now, the exact same work environment pushes the same stress signals, but the increase stacks on top of an already overloaded system. Now, the brain receives signals that are far more intense. Thoughts might sound like this: I can't handle this. I'm trapped here forever. I'm falling apart. I need to escape immediately. The same environment, but the emotional intensity becomes overwhelming. Not because the situation was stronger than the person number one, but because the body signals were already close to the limit. Another example that really surprised me and fascinated me probably the most out of everything is loneliness. Chronic loneliness is not just a feeling. It actually increases stress hormones, inflammation, threat detection in the brain, it lowers oxytocin levels, etc. etc. Now imagine two people going through the same social rejection. Maybe something simple like someone they really like stops responding completely. Maybe someone they have feelings towards them and they feel like they will help them escape the loneliness path. That situation increases emotional stress signals. But again, the baseline matters. First person, their body chemistry is balanced, sleep stable, serotonin stable, energy stable. The brain receives the rejection signal and interprets it like that hurts, that really hurts, but I'll be okay. Emotion sadness, but somehow still tolerable, somehow still manageable. And eventually they go through the day like nothing happened. Second person, their body has already been carrying loneliness signals for months. Cortisol already elevated, inflammation already higher, threat detection already sensitive, hundreds or even thousands of body signals less balanced, serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, blood sugar, oxygen, etc., etc., etc. The emotional intensity can feel completely overwhelming. Thoughts might sound like, no one wants me, I'll always be alone. The rejection didn't create the emotional storm completely. It amplified signals that were already present inside the body. So one person feels like whatever, somehow I will keep going. They still feel sadness, but the thoughts aren't as intense to the soul, aren't destroying the person's soul that much. One person isn't suffering as much, but the other person is suffering thousands of times way more, and it just feels way more insane to their soul, and the suffering is way greater. Another example that honestly shocked me when I learned it is especially because it's something so mundane and boring, like because everybody talks about it, but it's our well famous sleep deprivation. One night of bad sleep can increase stress hormones, reduce emotional regulation, and increase amygdala reactivity in the brain. Now imagine two people experiencing the same conflict with a partner. Voice raised, tension. The situation increases emotional signals in both brains. First person, their body is rested, neurochemistry relatively balanced. The brain still has regulatory capacity. Thought might sound like this argument is intense, but we can talk about it. Emotion, anger, but control. Second person, they slept 3 hours, but their overall sleep debt is way worse than just 3 hours. Cortisol already elevated, serotonin lower, emotional regulation reduced. The exact same conflict happens. Now the emotional signals explode. Thoughts might sound like this relationship is a disaster, emotion rage, panic, despair. Same argument, completely different emotional intensity. And this is the part that fascinates me the most. Life events absolutely matter. They change hormones, they change stress chemistry, they change body signals. But the emotional experience you feel still depends heavily on the internal state your brain was already sensing before the event even happened. Your brain is constantly combining two streams of information: what is happening in the world and what is happening inside your body. Your emotions appear where those two signals meet, which means something really surprising. The outside world pushes the body, but the body decides how intense the emotional experience becomes. And to me, that is one of the most mind-blowing things about neuroscience, because it means your brain is not just reacting to the world, it is constantly translating the world through the biology of your body. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Feel free to hang out with me even more and explore our feelings, emotions, and thoughts in other videos, but absolutely no pressure. Take care, especially take care, and I can't wait to catch you soon.